After over 10 years of severe chronic illness, I found binders that worked for me and binders that didn't work for me, and I'm going to tell you which ones they were and why they worked. I had Lyme disease, I had toxic mold, I had parasites, I had autoimmune issues, I had multiple chemical sensitivity, I had food allergies, so many different things. And with die-off, with too much histamine, with just toxic mold and other toxins in my body, I was always trying to mop up the excess of those things within my system. There were 4, 5 different things that worked really, really well for me. One was Bentonite clay, my favorite go-to. It was also something I could use topically on my skin as well, because I had Candida on my skin and rashes all the time. So internally, it worked really well for me because it had like a heaviness to it. It like kind of grounded me down when I had a lot of bloating. So bloating is a lot of that air energy in the system, and that actual literal earth and soil energy going into the body, those particles of soil, helped me to balance out that excess air of the bloating in my GI tract. So I was having a lot of difficulty digesting food, and having the earth go into my system helped to kind of cool and calm that down, that bloating, that excess of air in my system. It was the easiest thing for my gut to tolerate. Now, the one thing is if constipation is something that's being experienced, it can be too heavy and too dense for the system, and it can slow things down even further. So I typically was on the side of things running too quickly through my system, food not being digested, and so the diatomaceous earth helped to slow down my gut so that it would take a little bit longer to process things through. It also has a cooling effect to it. So if you're experiencing too much heat and fire in the gut, like acid reflux or burning sensations when you go to the bathroom, all of those things are too much heat in the GI tract. So again, usually that's moving too fast, and the clay will help cool that down and slow that down. So it's a great choice for when my GI tract was too hot or too fast. Another one was yucca root or yucca root. I never know which way to say it. YUCCA. Now this one I don't think is traditionally seen as a binder. However, I absolutely used this as a binder, specifically for Candida die-off and for CBS gene mutation methylation processes with too much ammonia being in the system. So it helps to mop up that excess sulfur intolerance, or the sulfur isn't going from sulfur to ammonia to urea, and it is just floating around as ammonia in the system, and that's when you start to smell that ammonia in the body. I have a video specifically on this itself, so I'll link that down below for more information on that. It helps with Candida die-off and the ammonia that is produced when the Candida is dying off, or just excess Candida in the system. When I was really sensitive, I was noticing that I was becoming dehydrated when I would take yucca root. I would actually take even just a half of a capsule of it, because otherwise it was too much for me, and I would have to drink extra water on those days. I still take yucca root if I notice that like I had eaten a bunch of onions or a bunch of foods with excess sulfur in it, that helps to bind any excess. Well, I don't have the severe aches and pains and things that were going on before. It's just something that I noticed more, just like a smell like in my BO, which I think a lot of people notice just after eating onions and garlic and those heavy, they're detoxy when you eat those things. So that kind of helps to mop up that excess. So yucca root or yucca root, never remember how to say it, is an awesome one. Another one was nanoized zeolite clay. A company that does this is TRS Spray. This one was for me very intense, and I know other people who have tried this one and also felt that intensity from taking the TRS spray. This is nanoized, so it can go past the blood-brain barrier. It can get into like the deeper cells, you know, of the body. It's not just staying in the GI tract, it's actually going beyond that. It's something that you can spray in your throats and it is absorbed into the tissues. I was so sensitive to this at first, like I was with pretty much everything, that I would actually spray one spray into a glass of water, and then I would just drink a couple sips of that water. So it's like a water dose of the spray. And I still had like that Herxheimer reaction to it, that die-off reaction to it, where it was just pulling things like out of my body. And I know that this can have profound effects on people. I actually know somebody who had a son who was non-verbally autistic, and at 4 years old, after she had him on this for some length of time, one day he just came to her and said, "Mommy, I can understand you," and he started talking. So this is really effective at pulling things out of the system. Great for mold detox, and again, it's very effective. So taking very small doses was the only way that I could do this. My not so favorite one was activated charcoal. However, if my gut was having a slower moment where I was noticing constipation, where I was just noticing things just weren't moving through, but I needed to take some kind of binder to mop up the toxins, the die-off that was floating through my system, activated charcoal was one that wouldn't like slow me down anymore. So while I was mostly a fast GI tract and would take bentonite clay, when I needed things that were going to move faster, not slow it down, that was my go-to for that. Activated charcoal is very similar to bentonite clay. It's just going to absorb what's in the gut, and it's great for food poisoning, or if you're just having like an acute version of something and need to clear out from your system. Silica. Diatomaceous earth is a great way to get this. There are also products, especially in Europe, that are silicone dioxide, which help to absorb things from the body. Your body can't uptake it. It's just going through the gut, and then you're just pooping out whatever it absorbs. And diatomaceous earth is like a powder, chalky form of this. I actually use diatomaceous earth for killing parasites. It kind of works like fiberglass, where it just kind of cuts up the actual tissues of the parasites in the gut. But it also absorbs, it's very porous, and it absorbs toxins into it. Diatomaceous earth, you want to make sure that you have a food grade version of this. They have this for pools and other things as well. You definitely want to make sure that you're getting a ingestible version of this. But it can be a very benign way to release things from the system. So that is also one where, if I know in the gel form I had taken, I can't remember what the product was. It was very effective, but it also, if you take just a little bit too much of that, it can also really slow down the gut. So if you're, especially in Europe, somewhere, I know these products are more readily available than in the United States. I don't know why they're not. They're very effective, and a lot of things that are effective in Europe just aren't available in the United States. But those are things, I can't remember. If I can find the name of it, I'll link it down below. It's been years since I've taken that. But the gel form of this, but the powder form, the chalky form of it, is just diatomaceous earth. Things that didn't work for me when I was going through my heavy years of chronic illness were chlorella. It just didn't, like, I did not feel good after I took that. Any of that algae products, like none of that green stuff worked for me. I just didn't feel well with it. Also, things from the ocean, from the sea, my body does not like. So that was absolutely something that just didn't work for me. But if you do well with that stuff, if you try it, give it a try and see, you know, if that's something that works for you. A lot of people do great on these products. But that doesn't mean that everybody's going to do it. So you might do great on 3 out of so many of the things that we're talking about here today, and then somebody else might do great on the other 3. So it's nice to have the options and have the trial and error for things. Another thing was pectins, because I had such intense food sensitivities and allergies that I wasn't able to eat any fruit, and pectins are from, citrus pectin or apple pectin are the most common ones that you see, and my body couldn't tolerate it. So there were a lot of binder packets, or detox programs that used apple pectin to remove from the body. It's actually a cancer treatment. It helps to remove cancer cells as well. So that I know is something that when people are on cancer treatments are prescribed pectin from their naturopaths to help absorb things. It is a great option. It's something that I can use now if I would like to. For some reason, there hasn't been a reason, but now I can eat apples. Now I can eat all the citrus and everything like that. So yeah, those are the main options out there. Those are the reasons why I took the ones that I took with a sensitive system. Trial and error with these things at very small doses in a sensitive system is like the way that I absolutely went, so that I didn't have these extreme responses. Even if I did tolerate the thing well, taking a small amount of it was how I tolerated it well. If I took too much of it, then I didn't. So I always erred on the side of taking very, very little in the beginning, and then building from there and seeing how I was feeling, because I could never really get a gauge if I took too much of something immediately, if it was the amount that I took or if it was the actual thing itself. I do one-on-one coaching if you're interested in reaching out to me to see if I can support you in some way through your chronic experiences, through your brain retraining processing. Please reach out to me. I'd love to chat with you and see if I can help you in some way. Leave a comment down below on if any of these binders have helped you and why, because again, everybody's different, and somebody might say like, well, actually my system's more like this person that I'm reading about here. Somebody else might say my system's more like her system. So it's nice to have that out there. I will link also a PDF down below with the binders on them. I don't know if I'll have that ready right away when I have this video out there, but it will be around at some point. All right. Well, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.